Plan is very simple. With verbs in English, as you know, we have phrasal verbs, which is a verb plus a complement, typically a preposition. And these two things combine to make something that doesn't translate well to other languages. They combine to make a completely new word, pretty much. So today we're going to talk about run, which is actually the verb that has the most meanings in the English language. Well, according to a TikTok I saw maybe a couple weeks ago, I don't know if this is true, but I saw it on a podcast clip on TikTok, so it must be. But whether or not it has the most meanings doesn't really matter. What's important here is that it has a lot of meanings. It's important to know for business English, and we're going to talk about some of the meanings today. So, the first thing we're going to do is I will read out loud a dialogue where you can see a lot of the words we're going to use today in context. And then after, we'll go through one by one and talk about the meaning of each specific word. So let me add our document to the screen and we'll get started here in one moment. All right. So, and also for you guys that are watching, if you check the chat messages, you should see a link to this Google document. So it's free. You can go ahead and click the link and follow along with us here in the doc. So check it out. All right. We'll begin by reading this dialogue out loud. So it is a project kickoff meeting, and here is the background. A project manager and two team members are starting a new client project Monday morning. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to set up another camera here and we'll go ahead to capture this also. All right. Here we go. Okay, everyone. I'm going to run today's meeting since James is still traveling. We have a lot to cover, so let's move quickly. Before we start, I just wanted to run something by you. I think we need an extra week on the timeline. The integration is more complex than we expected. Okay, I'm glad you flagged that. Can you run me through exactly what the issue is so I can understand the scope? Sure. Basically, we ran into a problem with the legacy system. It doesn't communicate well with the new platform, so we need to run a test on each connection individually. Got it. How many connection points are we talking about? Hmm, about 12. And we're already running out of time before the client demo on Friday. Okay, Maria, can you run point on coordinating with the client while David and I figure out the technical side? Absolutely. I'll reach out this afternoon and manage their expectations. Perfect. Since perfect. David, once you have a solution, just run with it. You don't need my approval for every small decision. I trust your judgment on this. That works. I'll run the numbers on the timeline today and send everyone an updated schedule by the end of day. Great. Let's not run over today. We have full afternoons. Any, anything else before we wrap up? All right. So, how is that? Does anyone have any questions about any of these verbs with run? So, if you guys click the link in the chat, you'll be able to see that there are 3 dialogues. So, 2 of them are related with business situations, and the third one is about kind of just a friendly back and forth. So, what we'll do now is we'll read the next dialogue, then we'll move into explaining each of the words one by one. Okay. So, the context here is 2 old university friends run into each other kind of meet by chance at a coffee shop on a Saturday morning. Sorry, it's a bit late. No way. Is that you? I almost didn't recognize you. Marco, I literally just ran into you around the corner and didn't even see you. How long has it been? 2 years? Maybe more. How are you? Good. Really good, actually. Hey, before I forget, I wanted to run something by you. My brother is looking for a good accountant, and I remember you went into finance. Do you have any recommendations? Oh, yeah. I actually know a few people. Let me run through the ones I trust, and I'll send you a list later today. That would be amazing. He's been running out of patience trying to find someone reliable. He ran into a problem with his last accountant. The guy just disappeared before tax season. That's terrible. I'll help him out. Tell him just to run with whoever. That's terrible. And yeah, I'll help him out. Tell him just to run with whoever I recommend, and he won't have any problems. Perfect. Hey, are you still Hey, are you still running your Saturday football game with the guys from university? I'm actually running point on it now since Roberto moved to Bogota. We play every Saturday at 10 if you want to join sometime. I might just take you up on that. Hey, I have to run. I'm meeting someone in 5 minutes, but let's actually catch up properly soon. For sure. I'll run the numbers on my schedule this week and send you some dates. Did you just say run the numbers on your schedule? Yeah, I've been spending too much time in the office. Send me a message. Ha. Good to see you, Marco. All right. So here we have a couple dialogues using all these words in context. So do we have any questions from anybody so far? All right. Very good. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go through each of these words one by one and look for real examples in context. So we'll start with the first one, which is to run a meeting. Does anybody know what it means to run a meeting? Very good. So in some cases, run can mean kind of to lead something. So to run a meeting just means to lead a meeting. So if you are the person who is in charge, then you are running the meeting. So very simple. Let's go ahead and check out to see if we can find any examples of run a meeting in context. So for this purpose, we're going to use one of my favorite websites, which is called Play Phrase Me. All right. So sorry, give me a second. I'm trying to do all this here. All right. So let's it looks like we got to go full screen. So this website allows you to search movie clips. So we can type in run a meeting and see what comes up.
Trying to run a meeting here. Trying to run a meeting here.
Oh, can't do it because I got to run a meeting. So,
All right. So can't do it because I've got to run a meeting. So this clip is great because it has two idioms that we've been talking about. First is run a meeting. And second, we see this have got to. Does anyone remember what it means when you say, I gotta do something? Exactly. So when you say, I gotta do something, it means that you have to. So in this case, he could say, I have to run a meeting, but in casual English, we often say, I've got to run a meeting or I gotta run a meeting. So he has to conduct the meeting, and we'll see here if we can get some more context. All right. So we'll see what she says first.
Okay, if you would like to take a seat, we can get started.
All right. So the woman says, if you would like to take a seat, we can get started.
oh, can't do it because I got to run a meeting. So,
and he says, I can't take a seat because I have to run a meeting. So to give a bit of context, in this case, this woman is the new or old boss, and she's trying to take over. So he is the boss, he's trying to run a meeting, and she's saying, hey, you sit down, I want to run the meeting. And they're kind of arguing about who will run the meeting. So I'll go ahead and download this to check out later, but very good example. So run a meeting. So we can also search, for example, run the meeting and see what we can find.
You should run the meeting for sure.
All right, you should run the meeting for sure. So let's see
You should
what
run the meeting for sure.
we have with the context.
Well, thank you for the vote of confidence, Dean. You should run the meeting for sure.
So he's just affirming this other gentleman, you should run the meeting for sure. All right.
You should run the meeting for sure.
The meeting's about finding someone to run the meeting?
Alex, can you please run the meeting, not just babysit us, please?
Definitely will have to run the meeting without me.
Duke, who's gonna run the meeting?
So very simple. Who's going to lead the meeting? All right. So now we'll go ahead and go to our next word here. But first, what I want to do is do a little bit of practice with run the meeting. So do we have any questions so far? Any doubts about anything here? Okay, very good. So as you can see, when you learn a new word, of course, you need to see examples and context. But next, you need to try to use the word. So we're going to start here by using what I call half sentences. It's very simple. Just ask the AI to create some half sentences for you containing the vocabulary term, and your job is to complete the sentence. So this allows you to create a sentence without needing to think up the context and the grammar. They give you the context and you just need to finish the sentence. So this is like when you learn to ride a bike. You don't go from walking to riding a bike. You go from kind of walking, sitting on the bike, riding the bike with the second wheels on the side. We call these training wheels. So these half sentences are the training wheels of vocabulary in English. So we'll start with number one. I usually run the meeting when. So I usually run the meeting when my boss is at home. The last time someone ran a meeting really well, perhaps they stuck to the agenda. In my company, the person who runs the meeting is usually responsible for, say, excuse me, sorry. I don't know what's happening today. But you could say, the person who runs the meeting is usually responsible for writing the agenda. All right. Now, another thing you can do, of course, is to have a sentence in Spanish and then try to translate it into English using the vocab. So, goodness gracious. So when you are thinking, of course, you're thinking in Spanish and you need to speak in English. So this is a good process for training this translation from Spanish to English and helping you identify these are the exact situations I need to use this phrase. And of course, people will tell you, oh, you need to think in English. You always need to think in English. And this is true, but it's really not helpful advice. So you're always going to be thinking a little bit in Spanish. And when you get better at it, you'll just be thinking very quickly and you'll feel like you're thinking in English. But anyway, it's okay to use translation to study if it's something that helps you. So we'll see some translations here. All right. Normalmente, María dirige los reuniones del lunes porque el director está ocupado. Sorry. So, normally, Maria runs the meetings on Monday because the director is busy. ¿Quién va a llevar la reunión esta tarde si Carlos no puede venir? Who is going to run the meeting this afternoon if Carlos can't come? La reunión estuvo muy desorganizada porque nadie estaba a cargo de facilitarla. The meeting was very disorganized because no one was in charge of running it. All right. So, any questions about anything with run a meeting? Okay. Very good. So, we also say, for example, something like running a company. So, you'll hear people say he's running the company, which means leading, directing the company. So, very similar. So, we'll add here running a meeting or maybe run a company or a business. You'll hear this as well. So, next we have run. So, next we have to run the numbers. Does anybody know what it means to run the numbers? All right. So to run the numbers just means to do a calculation. So let's say, for example, you are considering buying a new apartment. Before you buy the new apartment, you need to run the numbers, meaning you need to look at your income, the amount of money you have saved, the interest rate, other expenses, and you need to run the numbers before you make this big financial decision. So if you are in a big negotiation for some type of a business contract, it's common to say, okay, I like what you have to say, but we need to run the numbers and then we can move forward and close the deal. So let's go back to play phrase me and see if we can find some good examples of run the numbers. All right, so let's see what we can find here. Run the numbers. Oh, okay.
I've run the numbers.
Run the numbers.
Run the numbers by me again.
Okay. Run the numbers by me again. So if you know this movie, these two men are negotiating the sale of let's say, an agriculture business. And he's saying, run the numbers by me again. So actually, this is a different use of run. So in this case, this is an example of run something by someone, which means to check some information with someone. But we'll go ahead and move on. Actually, for this one, I believe I have some clips that are ready to go. So let's go ahead and do this. I'll show you guys some clips that I have prepared. Okay, so we'll see some of these clips. All right, so here's a clip from Suits.
I don't want to run the numbers.
Okay, I don't want to run the numbers. Here, they're in a business negotiation, and you can see maybe one person said, hey, let's run the numbers and see. And he says, I don't want to run the numbers. I want to close the deal. Let's see here.
I'd have to run the numbers, anticipate fluctuations, consider different
Same context. I'd have to run the numbers, consider fluctuations. So think about changes and things like this. Let's check out one more clip here from Big Bang Theory.
There's no discernible pattern that I can see, but it shouldn't be too hard to run the numbers and check.
Okay, so he says it shouldn't be hard to run the numbers and check. So they're looking at some sort of data or scientific study, and he's saying, hey, we can run the numbers, we can do the calculations and check. So run the numbers, do the calculations. So let's go ahead and see some more examples and go from there. Okay, very good. Do we have any questions so far? All right, very nice. So a couple more examples. Let's run the numbers on the new pricing model before we present anything to the client. We ran the numbers 3 times and kept getting the same result. The project is not profitable. Okay. And so en español sería como hacer los cálculos, revisar las cifras o correr los números. Así se dice, correr los números. Eso es lo que he escuchado, correr los números. Pero bueno, alguien que habla bien español en los comentarios me dice si dice correr los números. Pero bueno, hacer los cálculos y revisar las citas sí están bien. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the half sentences. So all I want you to do is think, what is a way to finish this sentence that makes sense? I'll begin. Before we approve the budget, we should run the numbers on our new shipping rates. You could say this. So before we approve the budget, we should run the numbers on our new shipping rates as a result of the higher gasoline prices. Last time I ran the numbers, I discovered that the CEO was committing fraud. In my job, I need to run the numbers when there is an audit. Or in my job, I need to run the numbers at the end of every quarter. All right. Now we'll translate some sentences from Spanish into English. Okay. Antes de tomar una decisión, siempre reviso las cifras para asegurarme de todo esté bien. De que todo esté bien. All right. Before making a decision, I always run the numbers to be sure that everything is okay. ¿Puedes hacer los cálculos de cuánto nos costaría contratar 2 personas más este trimestre? How would you say this? Can you run the numbers on how much it would cost us to hire 2 more people this quarter? So trimestre se dice quarter, como cuarto. No, cuatro. No sé. Pero me entiendes. Quarter. All right. We're going to change this correr los números. No soy tan seguro de eso, la verdad. Pero bueno. Hice los cálculos esta mañana y los resultados no son tan buenos como esperábamos. All right. So I ran the numbers this morning and the results aren't as good as we hoped. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? How do you guys feel about run the numbers, run a company? And next we have something quite similar, which is run a test. So when we say run the numbers, it's kind of hacer los cálculos. And to run a test is very similar to do a test. So we can see here, es como ejecutar, correr una prueba, pues hacer una prueba. And in this case, to run a test means that you are the person who is, you're doing the test. So you're not in school taking a test and giving answers. You're perhaps running a test on a computer. So let's say we have a new product, which is this pen. Okay, we need to run some tests. The first test I will run is, can it write? Okay, the second test I will run is about the materials. Are they good materials? So to run a test is to be the person like administrar una prueba. Si se dice así, no estoy tan seguro, pero es así. So to run a test is to be the person administering the test. Okay. So this one is quite similar to run the numbers. So we're going to skip it and move on to the next one because there are some ones that are more complicated and I want to make sure that we have time to cover some of these interesting topics. Okay. But we're going to take a small pause here and I'm going to see if we have any comments or any questions here in our chat so far, but thank you guys for being here. It's been very good so far. Okay, we are good. All right. So our next phrase is to run something by somebody. So we commonly say, hey, can I run this by you? And this just means that we need to check something with someone else. So it's kind of like we need to consult someone about a topic. So en español es como preguntarte sobre algo o consultarte algo, but it's very common in business English. So if you have an idea and you want to check with your boss to find out if your boss likes the idea or doesn't like the idea, you can say, hey, can I run this by you real quick? And he'll say yes or no, but it's a very useful phrase. So let's go ahead and check out play phrase me, and we'll see if we have run something by you, and we'll see if we can find some good examples here. So we're going to type in
We got to run after it now.
run this by you. Well, we're going to type in, we'll see if we can get something with run something by.
I need to run something by you.
All right, great example. So she's on the phone, maybe talking to her mom, her friend. I need to run something by you. Okay. So she wants to ask her opinion.
Hey, can I run something by you?
Okay, another great example. Asking an opinion in this case. Oh. Okay, I realized I wasn't sharing the screen, but now we should see it here. Okay.
Yeah. Well, before Sonny gets here, while we're waiting, I'd like to run something by you, John.
Okay. So while we're waiting, I'd like to run something by you.
Actually, since I have you, I just wanted to run something by you, see what you thought.
Okay. This is a perfect example. She says, I want to run something by you, see what you thought. So she kind of says the same thing in two different ways. And she's saying, oh, because we're already talking, give me your opinion about something here.
I want to run something by you.
I just have to run something by Sage.
I wanted to run something by.
Now, the other way this is commonly used in business English. Okay. Now, the other way something by you is commonly used in business English is if you need to delay making a decision, especially in a sales meeting. For example, you're meeting with a salesperson and you don't really want to say no, but you're not exactly sure if you want to move forward. What you can say is, okay, I love the idea, but I need to run this by my boss first, or I need to run this by our legal department before signing a contract. And if you are just at home in your social life, if you're at home in your normal life, you can say, you know what, this sounds good, but I need to run it by my wife. I need to run it by my husband. And it just means I need to ask someone else for their opinion or approval before moving forward. So, do we have any questions, any comments about run something by? Okay. So I think this is probably the most important one we have so far here. So this is a great low stakes way to ask someone's opinion. Okay. A few more examples. Before I confirm the meeting with the client, I just wanted to run the agenda by you. Does everything look all right? I ran the contract by our legal team before signing it, and they caught 2 issues we would have missed. She always runs new ideas by her mentor before presenting them to leadership. It saves her a lot of time and embarrassment. Okay. And one thing that I haven't mentioned before with phrasal verbs is a lot of times we pronounce them in a way that sounds very quick. So in English, if we have a preposition or a lot of these small words that don't add a lot of information, like by, over, above, the, a, this, that, we tend to say them very quickly, and we usually spend more time on words that carry more information, like nouns and verbs. So if you noticed here, I said, run it by you. We don't say, run it by you. We say, run it by you. So it almost sounds like one word. So be careful when you're listening and when you're speaking. If you want to sound more native, you can practice emphasizing the verbs, nouns, and other important words, and trying to say the less important words a little bit quicker. So can I run this by you? I just wanted to run the agenda by you. Does everything look right? So good way to practice. All righty. Any questions so far? All right, we'll go ahead and move on with our half sentences. Before I send this email to the client, I wanted to run it by you because I wasn't sure if the sales figures were correct. I always run new ideas by my manager before telling the rest of my colleagues. Someone ran a proposal by me last week, and I thought it was a great idea, or I thought it was a terrible idea. Okay. Now we have some Spanish sentences that we will translate to English. Okay, and one moment. I keep forgetting. I'm so sorry, guys. I know. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to share the screen, but as you can see, we have the examples I gave here. And of course, if you guys want to see the full document, you can just go ahead and check the chat or send me a message on LinkedIn, and you can see it there. So you can review this, and I apologize for not sharing it a moment ago. I'm new to this, and it's a bit late this evening, but that's all right. Ahora vamos a ver las traducciones del español al inglés. Entonces, antes de enviar la propuesta, quería consultarte algo sobre el precio que pusimos. So, before sending the proposal, I wanted to run something by you about the price we set. ¿Tienes un minuto? Quiero pasarte una idea que tuve esta mañana para ver qué piensas. Do you have a minute? I want to run an idea by you that I had this morning to see what you think. Mi jefe siempre quiere que lo consulte cualquier decisión importante antes de tomar acción. My boss always wants me to run any idea by her before taking action. All right. So these are some sentences you can translate into English to practice. So the last thing that we're going to do this evening is a little gap fill activity. So for tonight, we're going to go ahead and finish up a little bit earlier here. We'll probably finish up in about 5 minutes, but we're going to do one more activity. So the idea here is we looked at 4 or 5 phrases. We're going to check all of them together and answer some discussion questions. And then tomorrow in our next live stream, we'll continue and go over some more words, more phrases, and continue the practice. So we'll go ahead and do it like this. All right. So here, read the dialogue, fill in the blanks. Before I start, I just wanted to quickly, I'm thinking about changing the format of our weekly check-ins to every 2 weeks instead of every week. What do you think? So what do we have here? I wanted to, run this by you. So she's asking for some advice from James. Honestly, I think it could work. Have you on how much time that would save the team per month? So asking about some kind of a calculation. Very good. To run the numbers. Okay, perfect. Run the numbers. All right, not yet. That's actually a good idea. Can you on that and send me the results before Friday? Yeah, to run a test. So can you administrate a test? Can you create and carry out a test? Okay. Sure. And while I'm at it, which means while I'm doing it, on the new scheduling tool we installed last week, I want to make sure it's working properly before we change the meeting format. So what is he thinking here? Run a test. Exactly. So run a test again. Okay. Then last one here. Perfect. Oh, and James, can you on Thursday? I have a conflict and won't be able to make it. So what is she asking James to do? Run the meeting. Very good. So she's the manager. She normally runs the meeting, but James will run the meeting on Thursday because she has a conflict. Okay. So this is what we have for this section. Does anyone have any questions about run the meeting, run the numbers, run a test, or run something by you? Any doubts so far? Okay. So the next thing, of course, when you're learning vocab, you always want to use the vocab in spoken English. So you do not need a teacher or a speaking partner to do this. You can use the AI to create questions. You can create your own questions and you can write your answers, or you can just say your answers out loud to no one. The idea is you need to speak. Of course, it's better to speak with a person, but if you don't have a person to speak with, you can speak to yourself. You can speak to your cell phone, and that's okay. But this is something you always need to do if you want to be able to use a new word. You have to use it, of course. So we'll go ahead and answer these discussion questions and practice using these new words. Okay. Think about the last meeting you attended. Who ran it? Was it well organized? What would you have done differently? Okay. The last meeting I attended was run by my manager, John Smith, and it was pretty well organized. If I was running the meeting, if I had been running the meeting, I would have made it a lot shorter. Okay. All right. Number 2. Have you ever run the numbers on something and been surprised by the results? What happened? Okay. So, have I ever done a calculation and been surprised by the results? Yes. I remember I've run the numbers on, we all run the numbers on things several times, but I remember a couple years ago, I had a lot of subscription services, so Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, some different video editing softwares and things that I was using for my classes. And one day I sat down and ran the numbers, and I found that I was spending maybe over $100 a month on subscription services. And I thought, oof, this is surprising and very expensive. So it's good to run the numbers on your monthly expenses so you know how much you have to spend and things like this. Okay. All right. In your job, do you ever need to run tests before launching something? What kind of tests and how do you communicate the results in a meeting? All right. So, in my job as an English teacher, let's think here. Uh, I don't really run a lot of tests. I give tests to my students, but running tests would be like if I want to run some ads, I would run a test to see does advertisement A or advertisement B work better. So actually, I do run tests. So when I upload a YouTube video, I will run a test to see which title gets more clicks. But very good. But this running tests is different than giving tests. So I give tests as a teacher to my students, but I run tests to find out which business strategy is better, like A/B testing, if you're familiar with this concept. Okay. And our last question tonight. Is there something you're working on right now that you would like to run by a colleague or a manager? What is it and why do you need their input? Okay. So let me think. Yes. So I do have, so I do work with a couple other teachers and other English coaches. And when I have ideas for classes and things like that, sometimes I run this idea by them because they have, 20 years of experience and can give me their advice. So I always like to run my new ideas by people with more experience or a different perspective so I can be sure that I'm making a good decision. Okay. So, do we have any questions about any of these things so far? So, what we covered today was just the first 4 or 5 of these phrasal verbs. And what we'll do tomorrow is we'll go through and we have a lot more. We have run into, run out of, run point on, run with something. So, we have lots of different phrasal verbs that we're going to cover tomorrow. So, if you're interested, come back tomorrow. I believe it will be at 7. I need to check my schedule and see, but that's all we have for today. If you have any questions, you can send me a message here on YouTube or on LinkedIn. You can check out some of my resources. So, here's one of the free tools that you can use to learn using TikTok videos, a couple other resources I recommend. And of course, I do offer one-on-one and group classes. So if you're looking to improve your business English and you really want to improve your speaking, then feel free to schedule a free 25-minute session at the link here. The idea is, everybody knows that you need to read and listen, but very few people are speaking and speaking in a focused way that's going to help them improve in real business situations. So, in our classes, it's all about communication. Of course, we learn grammar, we learn vocabulary, but we start with the communication goal as the focus. And if you need to learn some grammar, if you need to learn some vocabulary to communicate better in the situation, then we will do that. But that is always the goal. We're going to take the situations and use those situations to form the class and create the plan. So, thank you guys for watching, for being here this evening. It was a blast as always. I'll see you next time. And of course, feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions. Thank you. Have a good night.